So I think when we left off last time, we were getting ready to start chapter 57. So we're still in the middle of this debate between Simon Magus and Peter. And so it's now Simon's time to respond. Peter just got finished more or less ridiculing this supposedly unknown God that Simon is worshiping. And Simon says, "Do you so far err, Peter, as not to know that our souls were made by that good God, the most excellent of all, but that they have been brought down as captives into this world?" So Simon is claiming that his unknown God created the souls and that they were taken captive. By the way, this is all very similar to Gnosticism. This is based upon the teachings of Paul. So this is essentially what Simon is professing. That Gnosticism essentially believed that the world was created by this inferior God, that there was this greater God above the Creator, and that this world that we're in now is basically a prison. So that appears to be what Simon Magus is professing. To this Peter answered, "Then he is not unknown by all, as you said a little while ago, and yet how did the good God permit his souls to be taken captive, if he be a power above all?" Then Simon said, "He sent God the Creator to make the world, and when he had made it, he gave out that he himself was God." Then Peter said, "Then he is not, as you said, unknown to him who made the world, nor are souls ignorant of him, if indeed they were stolen away from him. To whom then can he be unknown, if both the Creator of this world know him as having been sent by him, and all souls know him as having been violently withdrawn from him? Then further, I wish you would tell us whether he who sent the Creator of the world did not know that he would not keep faith. For if he did not know it, then he was not prescient, while if he foreknew it and suffered, he is himself guilty of this deed, since he did not prevent it. But if he could not, then he is not omnipotent. But if knowing it as good, he did not prohibit it, he is found to be better, who presumed to do that which he was sent, to do that which he who sent him did not know to be good." Then Simon said, "He receives those who come to him and does them good." Peter answered, "But there is nothing new in this, for he whom you acknowledge to be the Creator of the world also does so." Then Simon, "But the good God bestows salvation if he is only acknowledged, but the Creator of the world demands also that the law be fulfilled." What does this sound like? Whose doctrines do these sound like? Sounds like Paul. Then said Peter, "Then he saves adulterers, murderers, and lovers of foolishness because of their acknowledgement of him. But he does not save the modest, the good, the merciful, because they did not find some evidence of his existence and did not recognize him. Great and good truly is he whom you proclaim, who is not so much the Savior of the evil as he is the one who shows no mercy to the good. Then Simon, it is truly very difficult for man to know him, as long as he is in the flesh, for blacker than all darkness and heavier than all clay is this body with which the soul is surrounded." Then says Peter, "The good God of yours demands things which are difficult, but he who is truly God seeks easier things. Let him then, since he is so good, leave us with our Father and Creator, and when once we depart from the body and leave that darkness that you speak of, we shall more easily know him. And then the soul shall better understand that God is its Creator, and shall remain with him, and shall no more be harassed with diverse imaginations, nor shall wish to betake itself to another power which is known to none but Simon only, and which is of such goodness that no one can come to it, unless he be first guilty of impiety toward his own father. I know not how this power can be called either good or just, which no one can please except by acting impiously towards him by whom he was made." Then Simon, "It is not impious for the sake of greater profit and advantage to flee to him who is of richer glory." Then said Peter, "If, as you say, it is not impious to flee to a stranger, it is at all events much more pious to remain with our own Father, even if he be poor. But if you do not think it impious to leave our Father and flee to another as having been better than him, and you do not believe that our Creator will take this amiss, much more the good God will not be angry, because when we were strangers to him, we have not fled to him, but have remained with our own Creator. Yea, I think he will rather commend us the more for this, because we have kept faith with our God, our Creator, for he will consider that if we had been his creatures, we should never have been seduced by the allurements of any other to forsake him. For if anyone, allured by richer promises, shall leave his own father and betake himself to a stranger, it may be that he will leave him in his turn and go to another who shall promise him greater things. And this is rather because he is not his son, since he could leave even him who by nature was his father. Then Simon said, But what if souls are from him and do not know him, and he is truly their father? Then Peter says, You represent him as weak enough. For if, as you say, he is more powerful than all, it can never be believed that the weaker wrenched the spoils from the stronger. Or if God the Creator was able by violence to bring down souls to this world, how can it be that when they are separated from the body and freed from the bonds of captivity, the good God shall call them to the sufferance of punishment on the ground that they either through his remiss or weakness were dragged away to this place and were involved in the body as the darkness of ignorance? You seem to me to not know what a father and a God is. But I could tell you both whence souls are, and when and how they were made, but it is not permitted to me now to disclose these things to you, who are in such error in respect to the knowledge of God. Then says Simon, A time will come when you shall be sorry that you did not understand me, speaking of the ineffable power. Then said Peter, Give us then, as I have often said, as being yourself a new God, or as having yourself come down from him, some new sense by means of which we may know that new God of whom you speak. For those 5 senses which God our Creator has given us keep faith to their own Creator, and do not perceive that there is any other God, for so their nature necessitates them. To this Simon answered, Apply your mind to those things which I am going to say, and cause it, walking in peaceful paths, to attain to those things which I shall demonstrate. Now listen, did you never in thought stretch forth your mind into regions or islands situated far away, and remain so fixed on them that you could not even see the people that were before you, or know where you yourself was sitting, by reason of the delightfulness of those things on which you were gazing? And Peter said, It is true, Simon, this has often occurred to me. Then Simon said, In this way now reach forth your sense to heaven, yea, above the heaven, and behold, that there must be some place beyond the world, or outside the world, in which there is neither heaven nor earth, and where no shadow of these things produces darkness. And consequently, since there are neither bodies in it, nor darkness occasioned by bodies, there must of necessity be immense light, and consider of what sort that light must be, which is never succeeded by darkness, for the light of this sun fills the whole world. How great do you suppose that bodies of infinite light to be? So great, doubtless, that this light of the sun was seen to be darkness and not light in comparison. So what Simon is describing here, he's saying, and Peter gets into this in a moment, but Peter and the apostles, they were taught 2 heavens. The scripture teaches 2 heavens. There's the visible heaven, so you look up in the sky, that's the visible heaven. And then above that is the second heaven. That's where God dwells, where God and the angels dwell. In Paul's theology, there's a third heaven that's above the second heaven. That's what Simon is describing here. He's saying you go up above the visible heaven into the next heaven, and then you go up even still further, and you get to his God that's above all, his Gnostic God, who is above the Creator. And that's up in a third heaven. Now, in Paul's letters, he speaks about being called up into the third heaven. So again, like the things that Simon is describing here are concepts based upon the letters of Paul. And I would even go so far as to speculate there's probably, at the time that this was written, there was probably more teachings from Paul that were present. That's where they were getting more of this information from. But you can see these doctrines purported by Simon also in Paul's letters. So this is not random things that Simon is describing. This is things and concepts and doctrines that are described in the Pauline letters. When Simon thus spoke, Peter answered, "Now listen patiently concerning both these matters, that is, concerning the example of stretching out the senses and concerning the immensity of light. I know that I myself, O Simon, have sometimes in thought extended my sense, as you say, into regions and islands situated far off, and have seen them with my mind not less than if it had been with my eyes. When I was at Capernaum, occupied in the taking of fishes, and sat upon a rock, holding in my hand a hook attached with a line and fitted for deceiving the fishes, I was so absorbed that I did not feel the fish adhering to it, while my mind eagerly ran through my beloved Jerusalem, to which I had frequently gone up, waking for the sake of offerings and prayers. But I was accustomed also to admire this Caesarea, hearing of it from others, and to long to see it, and I seemed to myself to see it, although I had never been in it. And I thought of it what was suitable to be thought of a great city, its gates, its walls, baths, streets, lanes, markets, and the like, in accordance with what I had seen in other cities. And to such an extent I was delighted with the intentness of such inspection, that, as you said, I neither saw one who was present and standing by me, nor knew where myself was sitting. Then Simon said, "Now you say well." Then Peter, "In short, when I did not perceive through the occupation of my mind that I had caught a very large fish which was attached to the hook, and that although it was dragging the hook line from my hand, my brother Andrew, who was sitting by me, seeing me in reverie and almost ready to fall, thrust his elbow into my side as if he would awaken me from sleep, and said, 'Do you not see, Peter, what a large fish you have caught? And you out of your senses, that you are thus in a stupor of astonishment? Tell me, what is the matter with you?' But I was angry with him for a little, because he had withdrawn me from the delight of those things which I was contemplating. Then I answered that I was not suffering from any malady, but that I was mentally gazing upon the beloved Jerusalem, and at the same time on Caesarea, and that while I was indeed with him in body and my mind, I was wholly carried away thither. But he, I know not whence inspired, uttered a hidden and secret word of truth. 'Give over,' says he, 'O Peter, what is that you are doing? For those who are beginning to be possessed with a demon, or to be disturbed in their minds, begin in this way. They are first carried away by fancies to some pleasant and delightful things. Then they are poured out in vain and fond motions toward things which have no existence. Now this happens from a certain disease of mind, by reason of which they see not the things which are, but long to bring to their sights those which are not. But thus it happens also that those who are suffering frenzy and seem to themselves to see many images, because of their soul being torn and withdrawn from its place by excess of cold or heat, suffers a failure in its natural service. But those also who are in distress through thirst, when they fall asleep, seem to themselves to see rivers and fountains and to drink, but this befalls them through being distressed by the dryness and dehydrated body. Therefore the passion of the soul and the body can make imagination seem as if they are real." So this is an interesting response from Andrew. He says, if you're sitting there daydreaming and you get that deep into it, you're beginning to be possessed with a demon. I mean, this is something Peter says is a word of truth. They are first carried away by fancies to some pleasant and delightful things. Then they are poured over in vain and fond emotions towards things which have no existence. And it's some type of disease of the mind. This is interesting. This is very, transphobic. People believing that that things are one way when they're not, and apparently that's a sign of beginning to be possessed with a demon. Imagine that. Therefore, the passions of the soul and the body can make imaginations seem as if they are real. Man. Very, very transphobic. In short, that you may receive the faith of the matter concerning Jerusalem, which I have often seen, I told my brother what places and what gatherings of people I had seemed to see to myself. But also concerning Caesarea, which I had never seen, I nevertheless contended that it was such as I had conceived in my mind and thought. But when I came hither, and saw nothing at all like to those things which I had seen in fantasy, I blamed myself, and observed distinctly that I had assigned to it gates and walls and buildings from others which I had seen, taking the likeness and reality from others. No, indeed, can anyone imagine anything new, and of which no form has ever existed. But even if anyone should fashion from his imagination bulls with 5 heads, he only forms them with 5 heads out of those which he has seen with 1 head. And you therefore now, if truly you seem to yourself to perceive anything with your thought, and to look above the heavens, there is no doubt but that you imagine them from those things which you see, and placed as you are upon the earth. But if you think that there is easy access for your mind above the heavens, and that you are able to conceive of things that are there, and to comprehend knowledge of that immense light, I think that for him who can comprehend these things, it were easier to throw his sense, which knows how to ascend further, into the heart and breast of some one of us who stand by, and to tell us what thoughts he is cherishing in his breast. If therefore you can declare the thoughts of the heart to any one of us who is not pre-engaged in your favor, we shall perhaps be able to believe you that you are able to know those things that are above the heavens, although these are much loftier. So basically what Peter's saying is, I had all these visions of Caesarea, but then I went to Caesarea and it didn't look like anything like what I thought it would. And he's saying it was just my own vain imaginings. It's not like I could actually have a vision of Caesarea having never been there before. So he's equating that to Simon's visions and dreams of being up in the 3rd heaven. And Peter's saying you're just imagining. The only way you can even imagine the 3rd heaven is by comparing it to things from the lower heaven, the 1st heaven. Much less to went, all the way up through the throne room of God into this higher 3rd heaven that you speak about. And he also says, but if you want us to believe that you've been to the 3rd heaven and you can tell us what goes on up there, then tell us what's going on within our own thoughts. Because if you can see what's going on in the 3rd heaven, then it shouldn't be much of a challenge to you to know what's going on in the mind of someone sitting here with you. Which kind of makes reasonable sense, right? To this Simon replied, "Oh, you have cast a woven web of many frivolities. Listen now, it is impossible that anything which comes into a man's thoughts should not also subsist in truth and reality. For things that do not subsist have no appearances, but things that have no appearances cannot present themselves to our thoughts." Then said Peter, if everything that can come into our thoughts has a subsistence, then with respect to that place of immensity which you say is outside the world, if one thinks in his heart that it is light, and another that it is darkness, how can one in the same place be both light and darkness, according to their different thoughts concerning it? Then says Simon, let pass for the present what I've said, and tell us what you suppose to be above the heavens. Okay, so now we're up to chapter 67. I think this is probably a good place for us to stop, and then we'll come back and finish out book 2 next time. Shalom.